Welcome to this live. Just wanted to share some end of June reflections. I'll be doing my Dharma talk tomorrow, and then I have a little surprise that I'll be sharing at the end of this live stream. But I really wanted to go on record, as they say, in regards to Haitian protected status in the United States and the dismantling of that, and what it speaks to in the broader reality regarding culture. So, last night was the BET Awards. It was a celebration of Black excellence. It was great, wonderful moments, great red carpet, all the good things. It was also very, very disappointing for several reasons. Given what is happening to the Haitian community currently in the United States, as well as many other immigrant communities, but the Supreme Court handed down a ruling regarding Haitian protection status after the earthquakes in Haiti. And so, as a Haitian artist, I really felt like I needed to respond, not even necessarily to the ruling, because it is what it is. And, communities now have to come together in order to figure out ways to protect the Haitians in their communities, in their towns. It really has to do with this celebrity culture of it all, and all of it in relation to Black liberation. So I don't even know if there's a way to say this skillfully. There was a tribute to Lauryn Hill. Of course, I grew up listening to Lauryn Hill. I'm a huge Fugees fan. Who isn't? Miseducation, definitely as a vocalist, 100% shaped me as an artist, right? That's why it was really disappointing that not one artist on the stage, including Lauryn Hill herself, said anything about the Supreme Court ruling. Nothing, not a word, not a mention about the Haitian community. That's really disappointing because the truth of the matter is, it might seem like this is an immigrant issue, but in actuality, a lot of things are happening right now with the current administration that will affect African Americans. Black people are also affected by these rulings and are seeing an encroaching upon their own rights with various rulings. So there was also a recent occurrence in the Texas judicial system where a group of legislators came together and pretty much ensured that some protesters got the most severe sentencing for protesting. I am not going to go into the details of that case. I encourage you to look into it. The rulings were between 30 to 100 years for the protest. And one of the 30-year sentences went to someone who wasn't even there. So there was a protesting incident that took place at an ICE detention center in Texas, and someone was sentenced to 30 years in jail, and they were not present. This is a five car alarm sort of ruling that I'm really shocked more people are not talking about it. I think it speaks to our current media culture that this is not at the top of the news. It's very disconcerting. So I know that there's a lot going on in our daily existence. Many of us are looking for jobs, especially Black women. We're the most vulnerable right now because we were laid off the most. in these recent firings, especially in our DEI roles. And, we're not being hired as quickly as other people. I've seen it in every group discussion that I'm in. We're very, very much hurting, including myself, just trying to look for work, securing jobs, even though we're all highly educated and have our credentials, it doesn't matter. And I think that's, again, what saddens me the most about not a mention regarding anything that is happening with this current administration at the BET Awards. This is scary. When you go back to the civil rights movement in America, which is really a very important global movement, let's keep it real, that African Americans were able to secure so many of their fundamental rights for voting, all of these things, of course, being stripped away. It took a lot of Black actors, performers, singers, speaking in public repeatedly, putting their careers on the line to secure those rights. It deeply saddens me that we're in this day and age where we can't even mention what our communities are going through at an awards show. Not a mention, not a word. I am not putting down Black joy. That's not what I'm saying. I want us to celebrate each other in a room with each other. I think that's so important. But let's just talk about how can we uplift the narratives of those who are in our most vulnerable communities. It saddens me time and time again that these conversations are not being had. And I get it. People are trying to secure their bag or they're trying to keep it light and frothy. But this is a time where it's a dire situation for a lot of us. And, I have to say, as a Haitian person, I don't have the luxury of not addressing any of these issues because there's just so many of us that are terrified of traveling in and out of the United States, within the United States, that are afraid for our jobs, that are scared what our last names might mean in order to secure a position, because we already know there's a bias towards names when we apply for jobs. I don't know why there is not this discussion, but I do want to introduce the idea of us examining whose stories are centered within our communities. That is why I really wanted to do this live stream, because I think it's a question we have to keep asking. If you look at my Substack, I talk about this, and it's an experience I've had in my own life where I have found that there's a stunning lack of curiosity about my interior experience, right? And I have been through the ringer with fibroids and endometriosis, and a lot of it, a lot of these long term issues that I've had physically, I went through alone. And even when I expressed any sort of pain or discomfort that I was going through, if I was believed, a lot of times people did not believe me, it was always pushed to the side and pretty much a suck it up buttercup situation. So, because there is no curiosity about the interiority of Black people, Black women, there's just a stunning lack of humanity towards us. And I think that is what saddens me the most around the BET Awards, is that we are not showing humanity to each other. to have a platform like that, an entire night of performances and awards given, and not one person talk about what is happening in this country at this point is astonishing. I wonder what our civil rights leaders would say about that. It is just really sad. And I do want to give some flowers. There are some artists who, outside of the award show, have been using their platforms to say things. But, it's just one of those things when you have a moment, especially when you're celebrating Black culture. That is the whole reason why you're there, and to not uplift the voices that are not in the room, that do not have that platform, that don't have eyes on them, don't have voices in that space, and to just like acknowledge what is going on in our communities. This is why I really question so much about celebrity culture, this sort of like positioning of comfort. I am not telling you to go out there, and spray paint buildings with signs regarding the issues that I'm discussing. I'm not even telling you to do radical things. It's just about bringing the stories of the people that are being affected the most right now. And I just want to caution those who are experiencing a level of comfort. If you think that whatever is going on with the administration will not affect you, it will. At some point, you are going to experience the friction of all of these rulings that are happening by the Supreme Court. It might not be to the extent that someone such as I am, but you will experience, or someone in your family will experience this. And I truly hope that it doesn't take you to that point to actually say something. The point of this live stream actually was not in regards to the BET show. I just wanted to start with that. I just wanted to share a little bit about creating community, gathering within community, specifically when it comes to spiritual spaces. I had been studying Buddhism for quite some time, around 20 years of attending retreats, different spiritual paths for some time within the Mahayana Buddhist tradition, mostly, even though I did do some SGI, which is a Japanese approach to Buddhism. And I've always approached my spirituality from a place of mindfulness. I think that is what has kept me within the Buddhist tradition. But I just wanted to share why I ended up leaving Buddhism and now call myself more spiritual than Buddhist. A lot of it has to do with what I've been noticing in Buddhist spaces, which continues to sadden me. I see the effects of capitalism and this hierarchy that occurs in these spaces. And I notice that a lot of teachers are not able to speak to those who maybe are the most vulnerable, but are actually the global majority, someone such as myself. And so it makes me sad that not only are teachers not able to hold space for someone like me, but they're not even inviting us to share our experiences. So I went to a virtual gathering today with a teacher whose work I really enjoy, and I was excited to be in the space for this guidance regarding mindful communication. And so I posted my question in the chat, and I noticed in this huge Zoom space that there were not many of us who lean towards melanin. There really were not. And while most people were my age, a golden millennial, they were mostly white people. That's fine. I'm in many ways used to that in these spaces. I had not necessarily expected anything else. What was sad was I did ask a question. It was never answered, even though my camera was on, never approached. But the people who were chosen to speak and come forth and ask their questions were, I'm not even just saying white, that's not the point. The point is their experiences were rooted in privilege, right? Their questions were about, oh, my husband, oh, my job, oh, my family. Like, clearly, these people have a high level of stability, upward mobility, and comfort. And my question was actually rooted in displacement, the diaspora, and asking about, using these teachings towards a lot of the, issues that I've been feeling, especially regarding the recent Haitian TPS situation. Never approached, never acknowledged in any sort of a way. And so this speaks to my disappointment and my distance to Buddhism, which makes me really sad because the Four Noble Truths to me are literally the truth. And I do feel a path out of suffering. But I feel like the path has been so capitalistically based, corporatized, and monetarily attached to the outcome of enlightenment. And that saddens me because if you look at the Buddha's original life path, he literally denounced his riches. He came from a rich family and he took the life of a monk. He intentionally went on the streets and begged so that he could understand human suffering and relate to people. And then he eventually found enlightenment, right? And that's where his teachings come from. He let go of all of his worldly riches in order to understand human suffering, and then he became enlightened. I think there's something weird going on with Buddhism. And the sad thing is, I also noticed this in Black Buddhist spaces as well. A lot of them have a pay to play policy where there's some sort of entry fee and no full scholarships for those who might not be able to afford to interact or join these spaces. Again, I can't say it enough and register my disappointment enough. That is not the original intent of the Buddha's teaching. Dana is a suggested donation. Dana is something that you give from your heart and with intention towards your teacher. There are just not enough spaces that incorporate their practice. And so what ends up happening is you have this weird hierarchy within a spiritual practice. At least the church will let you go in and tithe and give what you can. And I'm not even someone who is tied to Christianity, but at least there is an option to give what you can. A lot of these Buddhist spaces really require you to pay up front, especially for these retreats. The retreat prices are out of control without any sort of options for people who might be struggling, especially now. Because as I've said, so many of us who are in the global majority, but are also the most vulnerable in a lot of these spaces, we're not able to join. And so that's what makes me sad about where we're moving towards as a culture spiritually. Because if we can't even at excuse me, if we can't even interact with each other from a spiritual place and as spiritual beings, it sometimes makes me wonder what's it all for. And again, it saddens me because I think Buddhism has really done the monetization the worse. And I don't understand how that came about, why it came about. I think we should find a way to democratize our spiritual spaces more. I understand, especially if you are holding a physical space for people, you might have to pay for where you are having a meditation session. That is a different conversation, of course. But I think for virtual spaces, especially, I don't understand where this inclination comes from to have these sort of gathering spaces that are more inviting and accessible. It's really about accessibility. And that's what I'm finding more and more is a lot of these Buddhist spaces are becoming less accessible. And again, I just want to say, I don't think this is like a racial hierarchy, although it does end up being one, right? Inadvertently. It is really a hierarchy of riches. It's like a caste system. It's very, very weird. And I first encountered this when I was looking for a meditation teacher facilitation program. I did eventually get my facilitation certification from Dharma Moon, and that was great. And they were very accommodating and also very diverse. A lot of their teachers and teachers' assistants, came from the diaspora. So that was nice. And, there was diversity there. And it was an international cohort, which was an extra treat. But the truth of the matter is, it took me years to find that program because most of the programs are not geared towards inclusivity or accessibility. And so, if that's at the teacher level, then you can imagine what it's like for those who might want to join an offering. So, as I end this session, I just want to share that tomorrow I will be doing a live stream, which I call a Dharma cast. I'm excited about that. Stay tuned. This is in addition to the Substack post that I'll be putting online today. And my treat for everyone is last year I created and shared a live sound healing affirmation that I did. And I'm going to make it available for free on Insight Timer, which is an app that's great for finding affirmations and meditations, all the good things. So I'm super excited to share that with the community so you can start to interact with my sound healing. And then I have sound healings that I'll be releasing throughout the month of July, sharing these recordings and affirmations that really resonate with me, using these healing tones that are based on Tibetan sound healing practices in order to root, ground, and expand your consciousness. So, yay, that will be my gift to everyone. I truly hope that July is a lot more of a healing month. I gotta say that. Maybe a little bit more ease for some of us, hopefully more abundance, definitely. And I truly hope that this message finds you well. You can follow me on Substack and YouTube. My name is K.Fleur. That's my artist name. Kareen is my human name. And yeah, happy June.